Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Member Leach is absent. Approval of the agenda. We have one addition, 7K. Approve Resolution 2022-11, approving the application of the Historic Broken Bar Stool LLC for a transfer of an on-sale, off-sale Sunday liquor license at 526 Sinclair Lewis Avenue. Is there any other changes to the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
Make them to approve.
Motion by Joe,
I'll second.
second by Shallen. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the January 5th, 2022 meeting. All received them in your packet. Is there any changes, correction, or clarification needed for those minutes? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 5th, 2022 meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Shallen. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. This now brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Call a third time. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Our public open forum is closed. We have no public hearings. We'll move on to reports and presentations. Police Department monthly report. Brian?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Activity report for December 2021. Some of the numbers we had for that month, we did 35 door checks. We had 74 extra foot patrols, 40 school patrols. We had 10 gas no pays. We issued 49 citations. Parking, a lot of that winter related stuff. We had 15 traffic accidents, we had 24 medicals, 25 assists for people, 14 welfare checks. We towed 14 vehicles during that snow emergency, or between the combination, I think there was 2 of them, if I remember. 12 motorist assists. We did 36 assists for other agencies. We had 10 citizen contact calls, 17 matter of information calls, and we issued 15 citations for driving without a license or suspended revoked license. For a total, I think, calls of 686 calls for the month. Then when you look at that compared to 2020, that was at 414, and compare that to November, it's 571. That's kind of where we're at. So then hopefully we get the numbers together for the end of the year report for 2021 in the February meeting. Have a report together.
Any questions?
Good job on getting the people that don't have a valid license off the road. You're not pinching the same people month after month after month.
No.
That's a lot of people. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Public Works Department report. Ben?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Over the past month, snow removal kept the schedule full with plowing and hauling. It has been snowing Fridays into Saturday, requiring some weekend work by staff. Equipment maintenance to replace cutting edges and make a repair to the street snow blower took place. Holiday lights were taken down. The airport hanger strap upgrade project is nearing completion. A little bit of assistance from us on that, just cleanup and miscellaneous questions that they had. Sidewalk snow inspections have taken place. We removed the snow from the marked sidewalks and invoices were sent out. Prepping for the snowmobile race that is happening this weekend, plowing out the campground, boat landing parking lot, and then providing some picnic tables to use for the weekend. Browns Park interior plumbing work is currently in progress, so hoping to wrap that up here in the near future. Outdoor rink, both sheets of ice have been in good shape and in use quite a bit on the weekends ever since the first of the year. This Friday is the Fire and Ice event, which is organized by some local churches, and there should be about 150 kids in attendance, so that'll be a nice thing down there. Everything will be ready for them for that. At the arena, ice maintenance prior to tournaments, edging and shaving to keep it at the proper thickness. We had some trouble with the electrical circuit board controller on one of the compressors, and that's scheduled to be repaired in about 1 week from now. Any questions I can answer?
Any questions? I know for the snowmobile race last year, we had an issue with when they set up their tent, they put their tent stakes through our tar, and I don't think that ever got fixed, so I was just wondering, they've been told about that not
They've been told
happening?
Not to put stakes through the tar, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Sounds good. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
6C Airport Board Report.
So the airport board met in regular session on Wednesday, January 12th. Ben just referred to the hanger strap upgrade project that's underway. That is state grant funded at 75%. However, that is being amended to 95%. So we're working on that grant agreement right now. The FAA has moved up the project notification deadline for the next project to April 11th. We used to have till June 30th to get everything in. So we're kind of scrambling to get everything together because that is going to include having to have an appraisal done on property. So we're working on that. The CRRSA grant, CRRSA grant agreement, that now has been fully executed. That's $13,000 for airport expenses. Because we got that, we were able to move some money, and that's how we got the hanger strap funded at 95%. So we took out of one grant for the other. We did apply to MnDOT for a Fuel Master grant request to upgrade the card reader and some of the equipment on top of the tank at the airport for measuring and keeping track of that, and we haven't heard back on that one. The ARPA funding at the airport has been approved. The FAA is just going to be sending us that grant agreement. That again is for some improvements at the airport for $32,000. And also there's new airport funding appropriations that came recently through the federal government of $159,000 per year for 5 years. And so we're looking at the potential of another box hanger out at the airport. So this is something the board is looking at. So we actually have 6 different grants outstanding right now, but for different parts of the airport, so that we're trying to juggle those. We also are recommending the approval of the master agreement with Bolton Mink for 22 to 26. And at a prior meeting, we had gone out for the 5-year consultant selection, had it approved to go with Bolton Mink. This is just the actual formal agreement. And then also we're recommending the proposal for professional services with Bolton Mink for the land acquisition project. That would be the first project under that new master agreement. So those are the 2 things that you will have for action items. And that's it for the airport.
Questions, comments? Hearing nothing, we'll go on to our action items. 7A, approve master agreement with Bolton Mink for airport services.
So that's what I just referred to. At the prior meeting, we approved the continued relationship with Bolton Mink for airport consulting. This was following the required conduction of an airport consultant selection process that's mandated by the FAA for airports receiving NIPIAS funding, which occurs every 5 years. The new master agreement for these services was submitted to the airport board. I did not include the whole thing in your packet because it was 16 pages long, but the airport board did review it, and they are recommending the city council approve it. So we're looking to approve the master agreement with Bolton Mink for airport consulting for 2022 to 2026.
Okay. Comments, questions? Do I have a motion to recommend the approval of the master agreement?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Shallen, second.
Second.
Second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. 7B, approve work order 1 with Bolton Mink land acquisition.
So the first airport project under the new master agreement with Bolton Mink is for the land acquisition of properties in the RPZ, which is the runway protection zone. That is the property off the end of the runway. The proposed purchase is the property at the end of the turf runway across 186. The agreement will include the land acquisition process, a certificate of survey to update the airport property map, the grant application, and the grant closeout. The proposal is for a lump sum of $51,000. The FAA share is 90%, and the city's share is 10% at $5,100. The reason for the price is that the FAA has amended their rules, and they are now requiring a new abstract on every parcel the city owns out at the airport, 159 acres worth, and they want the abstracts updated back to the land grant original. So we're gonna be doing some legal work, and that's where a lot of the funding is gonna go toward, to get that updated. So we are looking to, and the airport is recommending to approve work order number 1 with Bolton Mink.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve work order number 1?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Shallon will second. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4 in favor, none against. 7C, approve amendment to City Code Winter Parking Ordinance 809.
So the Operations Committee met as directed to review and recommend potential updates to the city's winter parking regulations. Currently, the city does not restrict parking on the streets in the winter months except during a declared snow emergency. The one exception is the downtown district, where no parking is allowed from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. year-round. The issue at hand is the volume of cars on the street that seldom move during snow removal, which is becoming increasingly difficult. The road gets narrower and narrower as we keep having to drive around cars. The committee reviewed 3 options. The one was to convert to no on-street parking from November to April. Many cities in our area do that, and that's what the city here did prior to 2006 when we did the snow emergency. The second was to convert to calendar parking, which is the odd-even parking. On odd days, you can park on the odd side of the street, on even days, on the even side of the street. And the third option was to call additional snow emergencies. After much discussion, the members recommend that the city amend its city code by adding calendar parking. The snow emergency criteria would remain in the code as an option for snow removal during a large event. In addition, the committee recommends that the no parking 2 to 7 parking zone on Sinclair Lewis Avenue be extended from Willow to East Street, which was formerly Oak to Pine. And that's because that's the area where the sidewalk is abutting the curb, so we have a lot of snow removal along those curb lines. So we wanted to extend the no parking 2 to 7, that length of Sinclair Lewis. I did include ordinance 809, amending the city code by adding calendar parking and extending the 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. no parking zones, as I just explained. And there's a couple things in there that I had been questioned in the calendar parking, how it would work. And basically, it runs from midnight to midnight, odd days and even days, except at night from 7 p.m. to midnight, we don't enforce it, and that's what gives a chance for people to get out and move their cars. So they come home from work, have dinner, put your car on the even side or the odd side of the street. And I know I had a couple questions on how that works, so I just wanted to clarify that. And so that is the recommendation of the Operations Committee, is to approve ordinance 809, amending the city code.
Okay, questions, comments? I, for one, I don't have a problem with no parking 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. from Willow to East Street. That's some pretty major stretch there that we're getting. I don't have a problem with that, mainly because of what Vicki had stated as curb line. I personally do not like calendar parking. I think it's too confusing. If they haven't moved their car in a day and a half, they're not gonna be running out there to start it up, to move it on the other side of the street when it's 10 below, when we got snow coming. I think it's just gonna create more issues. So wish the chief would have stuck around, but, you know, talking to him, we had it before. and then it went away in 2006. We were just getting people used to to no parking on the street from that time frame. And it went away in 2006, in my opinion, mainly because we had some tow truck operators that felt they were being slighted because they weren't able to tow vehicles. So the city caved and went back to the way it was now. I think we're gonna be towing a lot more cars than we ever did, even if we do a snow emergency. If we go to no parking from November to April, I think we can pretty much eliminate having to call a snow emergency. Because they're not supposed to be parking on the streets anyway. And most of the time at midnight is when our plows go out. So that's my opinion. To me, it's,
I think it's less confusing, Chief.
well, I think if we go to calendar parking, it's gonna take us 1 to 2 years to just educate everybody how it works. And I know there are cities a lot larger than us that probably do it, but I don't wanna be like the cities. I wanna stand on our own, because we got too many small communities around that are smaller than us that can get by with it, and they don't have an issue. So,
Well-
I'm open to any comments.
I agree on the calendar parking, there being confusion from people, just, working in, where we have to date a lot of paperwork, people usually don't know what day it is, a lot of times too. So, I see confusion there. Have some concerns with them, parking on the street, having to switch to the other side and maybe just not doing it because they're not expecting snow, so they are gonna technically be violating the ordinance because they're not expecting any snow, and then are we gonna be out there enforcing it, ticketing them, towing them because they're not in compliance? And if we're not, then why did we put it in, unless it's just a snow event type of criteria there? I do think something needs to be done there so our street department can keep those streets clear and we have safe roadways for people as we go along throughout the winter months. I guess I'd like to hear a little bit from the operations committee members as far as what was discussed and where their perspective is. I know I've talked a little bit to staff as well on it, so.
Well, I'm on the Operations Commission, and I'm really having second thoughts. I'm inclined to agree with the mayor on this one, and I think no parking from November to April, that's easy to remember. It's done, it's set, that's it. You don't have to remember, is it odd or even, and, that's great for the big cities, but this is a small town, and I think it'll go a lot faster if we just do that. So I'll make a motion
And I
if you
think
want.
to add to that, though, one of our discussion points was that it just seemed like still allowing some of it, some street parking, especially for those who may not be able to have access to anything else. That was one of the rationales. Since that point, I have had the opportunity to talk to at least one or two of our police officers, and I've heard some people say that the no parking would probably be easier for them, but I don't know. I guess to me, I'm on the fence, still giving people the opportunity to park on the street if they need to, if there's that necessity, makes sense to me. So taking that away, I don't know.
Yeah, and I would agree with that point, because some people's situations do necessitate parking on the street, and, you try not to, penalize somebody for what their situation is on that, so I do understand that point there as well.
One of the examples is you come home Friday and you park your vehicle on the side of the street. Saturday, you go move it. Then you leave for the weekend. Sunday, you gotta move it back again, unless you take the effort and put it in the driveway. But if you're gone during the weekend and you didn't do it, you're gonna come back to a ticket or your car being gone.
Yeah.
This way, if there's no parking on the street, it eliminates that problem. The apartment houses that we've got, I think it's a requirement that they have to provide off-street parking. It shouldn't be our duty to give them that chance.
Yeah.
To let them sidestep the rule just because they rent a house out.
Mhm.
And some of these houses I know, well, now with the 2 to 7 down here by East Street, there's one down there that's got 3 vehicles and 2 of them most of the time are sitting out on the road because one of them has to leave early and they don't want to go through the bother. So that eliminates that problem, but there's just too many variables.
Up until that snow emergency, I have gotten quite a few calls from taxpayers, and they're upset about their cars being parked across the street, and the snow plows come around and plow them in, and the streets get narrower and narrower and narrower, and these people never move their cars. So, yeah, I'm in favor of no parking November to April.
One of the things is, and a lot of people, they already complain a lot that our trucks don't get close enough to the curb.
Yeah,
Well, if we make it from November 1, and you can see that curb drop, then you know where the edge of the road is.
Yep.
You get 2 feet out in the road because you're driving around vehicles and those trucks don't get close enough to the curb. Now the next significant snow, you can't see the definition of where the edge is. And it just makes it harder for
Yeah.
our drivers to know where that edge is. So maybe if we start from, go ahead, Vicki.
I just wanted to, I was just waiting for you to finish. I just wanted to add a few things, some background perhaps. I was here when we went to the winter parking and we had the initial no on-street parking, and we had a lot of pressure to allow on-street parking, and that's how we ended up having it. Prior to that, we had to create off-street parking areas for people, and some of those areas don't exist anymore. So I think we would want to, if you're going to go back to that, we need to reevaluate where there are options for people to park off-street year-round. At that time, it was like 152 days you can't park, and we only plowed 8 of them, so there was 144 days that we could have so that was the argument that the council heard back then. So then they went to the snow emergency side. We came up with a calendar, odd even parking, kind of as a compromise. So then the guys could go plow, everybody's on the eve side, they plow the middle of the road on the odd side, and then the next day they come back and they do the even side. So there isn't this going around vehicles. So it was an attempt to compromise between closing it off entirely and having to call a snow emergency. That was kind of the background on it. I don't think we were intending to make it confusing. I mean, odd is odd and even is even, although I do sometimes don't know what day it is myself. But having 3 children that went through college, all 3 of them in towns that did odd even parking, they learned very fast what day it was. And so, and if they can all figure it out in college, I don't know that it would be that difficult for us. I understand it would be a learning curve. And it's going to be a learning curve either way. But I just wanted to provide a little background on how we ended up where we are today. I understand there's other cities in the area that do it, but I was here and I heard the pressure from people with, why would you close at 150 days when we really didn't need it that many? And that's how we went to snow emergency in the first place. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. If you're going to go back to that I assume that we will get that same feedback from. I know it's great to be able to have the road wide open, you can plow whenever you want, no one's gonna park, it's easy for us as staff, but is it easy for the residents to find parking? They were parking up on their yard, they jumped the curb and parked on the front lawn, and we had different areas around town where we plowed off and a grassy area to allow them to park. So we would make it work if that's the way you wanna go. But either way is gonna cause some pain for making a change.
Are there I can't think of anything specifically, but examples that don't have driveways and things like that, yes or no?
There are a few places that don't have driveways. I think what we're running into now, more so than we had before, was a lot more people are renting and a lot more people have more cars. There's more cars per family than there's ever been. And so maybe a house that had spot for 1 car to park now have 3 cars. And that's just the nature of life, that people have more cars in the family. So, but we'll have to figure out areas maybe that they can park, and maybe they're gonna have to get creative. And I think there will be a lot of parking on the front yard, because we've seen that before.
And one of the things is, and I'd ask the staff, the question is, what do you do with Ash Street? You're only parking on one side now. Well, the answer was, well, they'll just have to park on the side streets. Well, if you got 4 cars that all of a sudden have to park around on the side street, they're parking in front of someone else on
Yeah.
his house, and now he doesn't have room to park on his side of the street when he's supposed to. And I think we're gonna have more heartache that way, all the way down the full length of Ash, than we would if we just eliminated it totally.
Well,
Because when you go around the corner, okay, do I park on this side or do I park on that side? And now I got a half a block I gotta walk to get back to my house. To me, it's just gonna cause more issues.
Right. I think Ash Street came up, though, in our discussion, didn't it? And there isn't a whole lot of street parking overnight anyway. Is that a true story?
There's not a ton of cars on there right now, but it doesn't mean there won't be in the future, but right now it's, I don't know, 6, 8.
And one of the issues was, we had some heartache when we went and made it parking only on one side on Ash Street. Most of them cars on the side that they can't park found a place to park because they didn't want to park across the road from their house. So I think that eliminated a lot of the cars parking on that street, period. So it didn't really create a problem, but if we make them move around the corner,
Yeah.
I think it creates more problems. Because which side do you park on if you're an even? You just park on the left or you park on the right? Because normally that's not your street to park on.
Right.
We gotta look at the house numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
now
I
you're
live
looking
in
at
an
house
odd
numbers,
house.
and if some of them, if you can't read the house number,
Yeah.
you don't know if you're on the right side or not.
Yep.
So I'm only one vote, so it's totally up to, which way does the council want to go?
I'll make a motion, no snow emergencies, no parking, November through April.
Okay, and then you want to include the Sinclair from Willow to East Street on the 2 to 7?
Yes.
Okay. Does everybody understand the motion? Okay, so there will be no on-street parking from November to April. And we will eliminate having snow emergencies due to that fact. And the no parking 2 to 7 parking zone will be extended on Sinclair Lewis Avenue from Willow Street to East Street. Okay? Motion by Diane. Do I have a second? Chair will second it. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion dies for lack of a majority, 2-2 vote. Is there another motion?
I'll make the motion for the same thing, the parking on Sinclair Lewis Street as stated, and do calendar parking, odd even.
Okay,
I'll second.
we got a motion and a second. Any discussion more on that?
Like I said, I guess to me, it keeps things easier for the residents. It still allows it while still putting in some structure to allow Public Works to clean the streets. And to me, I think that is the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm coming from is, I know the Public Works has said this is something that'll work for them and they'll go with it. And I think we need to be cognizant of our citizens and their, needs and stuff. So, I think if it's, it's a good compromise. I have my concerns as far as some of the confusion and what may happen, but I think if we start with this as a compromise and we find it's not working, we can always adjust, from there too. So that's my thought.
The reason why the whole discussion came up was because of the people that didn't move their vehicles off the street. And they were coming back to staff going, well, after I move my car, drive by here and plow it again. Well, we're basically giving those people the same thing now. Okay, we drive around you. Now tomorrow we'll go plow it when you move your car. What's the difference? We wouldn't even be having the discussion if it wasn't some heartache on the street department having to come back and try to plow those berms off that we piled up on the first one. We got wear and tear on the wear blades, everything. You know, if they can just make one swipe down and one swipe back and it's curb to curb, it's done.
Yeah.
So basically, we're giving in to the people that said, well, when I move my car tomorrow, you can replow the road. And it's no heartache of mine, because I don't care. And that's the way I look at it, you know, so,
Of course, we just pay them more to plow.
yeah. So, is there any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to convert to calendar parking and call additional snow emergencies if we need to.
Yeah.
And no parking 2 to 7 from Willow to East. I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No, aye.
Motion dies for a lack of a majority. Again,
Next item.
next item, we tried.
Okay. Its Operations Committee also met to discuss the city's policy on street closures. The city's code reads that no person shall encumber, block, or otherwise obstruct any street, sidewalk, or public alley within the city by the placement of themselves, another person, or any item. The foregoing shall not apply to 3 annual civic celebrations, 2 of which will be sponsored by the Chamber and will commonly be known as Crazy Days, and 1 is Sinclair Lewis Days, and then an additional celebration every 5th year as the All-School Reunion. And then it goes on to talk about how that they would get that permission. So the committee has 2 recommendations to this because we are being asked to close the streets for the car show and the sidewalk chalk and the derby and different they do the beer run. There's several different events that occur that we're being asked to close the street. And so the committee has 2 recommendations that would be to allow street closures by permit with approval of the city council and just eliminate referring to specific events that can apply. So we would remove that out of there. And then also allow sidewalk displays where a walking corridor of no less than 4 feet wide can be maintained. This could be in the form of benches, planters, signage. The downtown businesses, they put merchandise out there. We just want to clarify that you need to have that 4-foot walking corridor there. I do have ordinance 810 amending the city code allowing these permissions for encumbering public ways in your packet. And you will see that, that if they're doing the sidewalk, they need to have a permit, and they also have to have us listed as an additional insured on their insurance in case there's any act or damage that can result. Because the wind could pick something up and blow their item through someone's window, someone could fall on it, trip on it. We just want to make sure that the business owner that is putting it out there has the insurance and takes the liability for that. So insurance was one of the things. And then as far as the closures of city streets, we'll just say that all requests to close the streets for public and private events must apply for and receive a permit issued by the council. An application should be received a minimum of 30 days in advance of the event and must include a proposed detour map. So this was the compromise that the Operations Committee came up with in order to allow some sidewalk displays legally and also to allow the closures of the street by permit. And that is resolution, or ordinance, I should say, 810 in your packet.
Questions, comments? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. They want to put a sandwich board out in front of their business, they have to come in and get a permit.
Yep.
And prove that they've got the insurance to cover it, so somebody doesn't pick it up and throw it through a window or anything else. Hopefully it's not the case.
Right.
But Anyone else have any other comments? Otherwise, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 810?
Make a
Motion.
motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Shellen, seconded by Joe. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. 7E, approve resolution 2022-07, providing for addition to day use dock.
In 2021, we raised funds to allow for the installation of the day-use dock in Sinclair Lewis Park near the band shell. We now have additional funding of $6,000 from the Conservation Club, and then I believe today we also received additional funding from the Big Sauk Lake Association, all to be used for the extension of the day-use dock. The main dock to be extended an additional section lakeward, and then 2 additional sections to be added parallel to the lake shore, which we've called wings or extensions. The initial dock was purchased from Boomerang and Melrose, and the side wings of the dock were purchased from 2 separate vendors at different times. The council can rebid or go back to the original vendors. At a minimum, we're recommended that we authorize staff to place an order to purchase the main dock extension from Boomerang immediately and get that on order. And then the wings parallel to the lakeshore could be rebid out to match as close as possible by going back to the original 2 vendors or open it up if additional vendors want to. You kind of have some flexibility here because the price isn't so much to put us in the competitive bidding world. But we did have a lot of feedback when we bid it out last time as far as what we were looking for. We believe it's very important to have the main dock extension be from the same style of dock. And then the other 2, we can have a little variation from them if we want to. So I did put the resolution in here to seek the quotes for the day-use dock extension, but I'm not quite sure which way you guys feel. If you would think that we just want to go back to the original vendors and just buy them, or if we want to put it out there again and see if we can get a better price. But I think the main extension, we probably want to get that on order right away because that's the one that's going to take the most time to get. Like for the 6-foot wide one.
Okay, questions, comments? We got the main dock from Boomerang before, right?
Yes,
And from what I understand, they've been sold, so it's a
whatever
different,
their name is now, then
Yeah.
we'll go back to them.
right?
Or that brand of dock. I
Right.
guess maybe different vendors may carry the same brand of dock.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? You want to seek quotes or just buy get the main dock coming from Boomerang or whatever name it is?
I guess I would think we'd get the main dock coming right away from them. I mean, obviously, it's gonna be the same brand, make of it, so,
The money's already been
yeah.
there, donated, so. Do I have that in the form of a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the main dock extension from Boomerang immediately.
I'll second.
Second by Shallon. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. We'll get that part coming and then we'll do the wings separately.
Either that or we can have a separate motion if you want us to go back out to all the original bidders and let them rebid that piece, we can do that and get that in motion at the same time. Or
What's the council's wishes? Have we had any issues with the other 2, with the wings from the other as far as matching up with what the main dock is?
No, the ones that we have worked.
They work, okay. Reason why I asked that question is if we had any issues or not, we could
Yeah.
just get it all coming from
Right.
one vendor. But
Yeah, we can do that as well. I mean, it's totally up to you.
what's the council's wishes?
So by one vendor, you mean just getting the wings through Boomerang then as well?
Just get everything. Then it's done, it's all ordered as in, because otherwise we might end up with the wings
Yeah.
being here
Yeah.
before the main dock is.
Unless you wanted, the only thing I would say is unless you wanted to keep the wings consistent with the other wings and,
Yeah,
We have 2 different kinds right now.
okay.
Right,
I would think we could put the wings out to bid again and give those people an opportunity to put a bid in and
Sure.
make sure we can find what's the best fit for the, main dock, and, it's a good product, and we get the best available price that we would have there as well.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with
Okay.
that too, Joe.
General consensus, then we'll just go back out to bids for
Okay.
the wings. Okay. 7F, approve resolution 2022-08 awarding bid for ambulance purchase.
On January 5th, the City Council authorized the Ambulance Department to secure bids for the replacement of the 2012 ambulance. The bids were received from two vendors who supply according to the state bid. That's Lifeline and PSV. You see the gross for Lifeline was $179,730, and they were allowing a $25,000 trade for a net of $154,730. And then PSV bid $185,203, less trade of $16,000 for a net of $169,203. The Fernal cots, I believe she talked about the Fernal cots that we need to upgrade in both rigs. They're not included in part of these bids. They will be added at a later date. We want to get the rigs on order because it'll take in excess of 365 days to get them. The Fernals we did get the bids on those, but we still have some questions on those, so we're not ready to put them on the agenda. The ambulance department requests that the city approve the purchase of the rig from Lifeline at a net cost of $154,730. And Tim is here if you have any questions.
Are both of them pretty similar, Tim?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, both of them are really, a matter of fact, Lifeline is totally custom. So when I meet with him, he can, come over here and actually see what we have and make an ambulance just like it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2022-08?
So moved.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries 4 in favor, none against.
And that was to go with the Lifeline one, right?
Yes, yes. Go with the Lifeline, 154,730, yes.
Got it.
7G, approve change order number 2, Mark Lee Excavating Aerosmith Project.
This change order number 2 for Mark Lee was tabled at the January 5th meeting. The change order was received for the Aerosmith Plat 3 development. It was to cover the costs of connecting existing but not previously identified storm sewer in the northwest corner of the parcel into the new storm sewer system. The change order was for $15,073. The question that came up at the meeting was the mobilization fee of $1,400. Why would they be charging that if they were already on site? So Chuck is here to answer your questions about that.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I was able to get a little more information for you on that mobilization, in regards to the mobilization. The utility subcontractor, Molitor Excavating, who did the utilities on the project, they wrapped up the original utilities on July 19th and mobilized off-site to another project, and then had to remobilize back on-site September 6th. So a couple months later to complete this utilities within a change order. So the mobilization is for the subcontractor, Molitor, not going to Mark Lee. So we do recommend approval for the change order, including the mobilization payment.
Okay. Questions? Comments? Not. Do I have a motion to approve the change order number 2 with Mark Lee?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. 7H, approve resolution 2022-09 declaring property excess and advertise for sale.
Stearns County Attorney's Office has released to the city a vehicle that has been forfeited. The police department has requested the city declare the property as excess and authorize advertisement for sale. This is a 2007 Suzuki motorcycle. Upon approval, the vehicle will be advertised for sale through the State of Minnesota Department of Administration's online bidding platform. So we're requesting to approve resolution 2022-09, declaring the property excess and authorizing advertisement for sale.
Questions, comments?
That's really a nice motorcycle. I'll make a motion that we approve it.
approve resolution 2022-09. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, you got the motion.
Okay, Diane.
I'll second.
Second by Shallon. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. 7I, approve removal of probationary period. Ashley Nathy.
Ambulance Director Kathy Strufert has requested the City Council release Ashley Nathy from probationary status with the department. Nathy has had favorable reviews and has exceeded the patient contacts required in addition to taking active call and being available for backup on a regular basis. So what the request is tonight is to remove Ashley Nathy from probationary status effective January 21st.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve the removal of Ashley Nathy from probationary status?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Shallon. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joel. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. 7J, approve pay request number 2, Northern Lines Contracting, South Industrial Park.
Pay request number 2 has been received from Northern Lines Contracting. This is for the South Sauk Center Industrial Park project. We've had one prior pay request for them for $279, $221.63. As you can see, the amount due this request is $373, $266.15. Part of this is due to the material on hand that they have already purchased, but we haven't had installed. So the total request for this is $373, $266.15.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve pay request number 2?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, with a second.
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. 7K, approve resolution 2022-11, approving the application of liquor license transfer.
So the city has received an application for transfer of an on-sale, off-sale, and Sunday liquor license. $100 for the transfer of the liquor license fee has been submitted. Insurance, liability, and workers' comp documents and background check are forthcoming. The effective transfer date to be February 1st, 2022. This is for, as you can see, the historic Broken Bar Stool LLC. This is Whiskey's Corner Bar that is being transferred to new owners. And you have in your packet the application and then also the resolution that would authorize the transfer. If you approve the transfer tonight, this would not be signed and sent to the state until after all the documents are received. So we're looking for resolution 2022-11, approving the application of the historic Broken Bar Stool LLC for a transfer of an on-sale, off-sale, and Sunday liquor license located at 526 Sinclair Lewis Avenue.
Questions, concerns?
Does a motion have to be made contingent, those documents, or
Pardon me?
does a motion have to be made contingent on those documents coming in, or?
You can do that.
Okay, then I'll make a motion
Okay.
contingent on the,
I'll
Motion
second
by
it.
Shallon,
I'll second.
second by Diane. And that's basically because we haven't got the police background done yet. And then before we can get it sent to the state, so. Any other questions, concerns? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. We have no unfinished business. We have
Can I interrupt for just a second?
Sure.
I want to go back to that ordinance for winter parking. I'm wondering if maybe we want to at least adopt the part about Sinclair Lewis Avenue 2 to 7.
Oh,
You know, just that table. We could amend that ordinance to be just that table to include the 2 to 7 to extend from Willow to East Street on Sinclair Lewis Avenue. And then we would just take the Schedule 2, this calendar parking, just out of that ordinance altogether. So the only thing the ordinance would adopt is the change to that 2 to 7 parking.
okay.
You know, if you're willing to do that, you know, that might be something to help the public works out, at least for the duration of this season.
We just put temporary signage up so they know it right away.
And we'll notify them. They'll get written notification
Right,
too.
okay. What's council's wishes?
Fine by me.
I don't think any of us had a problem with that portion.
No. So, you want a motion, Vicky?
Yes, please.
Yes. Need a motion.
Motion.
We have a motion by,
You're gonna adopt section 4 of ordinance 809.
right, yes. Diane made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Shallen. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. We have no new business. Brings us to our consent agenda. We have schedule of claims, unpaid claims, $231,825.87 for a total of the same amount. December checks, paid claims / payroll of $944,905.34. We have the contribution list for 2021. I will not go through them. Most of them all been recognized at previous council meetings. So I just want to thank those people or groups for their donations throughout the year. Gambling application for exempt permit request from the Holy Family School for a raffle on March 6th, 2022 at Holy Family School. And Resolution 2022-10, approving an off-site gambling permit for the Community Connection of Sauk Center. The permit would allow for a raffle to be held on June 24th, 2022 at Stearns County Fairgrounds. Do I have any questions about the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
Make a motion.
To approve.
Motion by Shallen, seconded by Joe. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. We have no informational items, so that brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Diane. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.